We've got news on the Magic Key lawsuit, but it may not be good news for pass holders. D23 is just around the corner, and Disney has teased what we might expect from the parks panel. There's an update on the potential new mask mandate in LA and elsewhere, and Knott's Berry Farm has updated their chaperone policy. We're going to talk about all of this next on Fresh Baked. Hi guys, David here with Fresh Baked, and we've got some news updates for you, and we're going to start with a little bit of info that we've learned about the Magic Key lawsuit. Many have speculated that the reason that we're still not able to renew our Magic Keys is because Disney's still looking or waiting for some kind of resolution on the Magic Key lawsuit, myself included. But if that is the case, then we may be waiting for quite a while, because we are nowhere near close to this thing seeing the actual inside of a courtroom. Now, the suit seeks to be a class action lawsuit, and in order for that to happen, a judge must first certify that it can be filed as a class action lawsuit. Now, we've heard that the hearing for this, the hearing where the judge certifies whether or not this case can be brought as a class action lawsuit, is not going to be scheduled until January of 2023. We've also learned that once that does happen, if it does happen, the actual court date isn't scheduled until June of 2023. That's almost a year from now, almost 2 years since the keys first started going on sale. The wheels of justice turn slowly indeed. So obviously this is bad news for anybody waiting for the courts to decide or to change the Magic Key program. So yes, this is bad news for people who are looking for a change to the Magic Key program, who aren't happy with the Magic Key program, especially considering, as we've discussed a lot lately, Magic Key renewals are coming up. At least for those people who are waiting or hoping that the courts do something about the Magic Key program, at least in time before their Magic Keys come up for renewal. That's not going to happen. Magic Keys will expire before the courts ever, see this case. But it's not entirely bad news when you consider the reality of things is that this case was probably never going to see the inside of a courtroom. It was never going to go to trial. Disney doesn't want this to go to court for a variety of, there's a lot of reasons why Disney doesn't want this to go to court. We're talking about discovery, we're talking about exposure, we're talking about bad press. It is also delaying Disney's ability to sell Magic Keys, and I do believe that they do want to sell them. Disney doesn't want to wait until June of 2023 to start selling Magic Keys any more than you want to wait till then to get yours. For that reason, my expectation has always been that Disney's going to try to settle this out of court, with a settlement being not a financial settlement, but a settlement where some sort of change is done and enacted upon the Magic Key program. Something that would satisfy the lobbying group that brought this suit to begin with. But the reality is that Disney could end this easily. They could end this right now. If they were to just eliminate the reservation system, that would end this lawsuit immediately. Because I'm positive that's what the lobbying group wants. They want an end to the reservation system. Which tells me that Disney is dead set on keeping the reservation system. Because everything would be over if they did. The fact that we're still going through this, the fact that there's still no resolution, the fact that the case is still ongoing, means that Disney doesn't want to give it up yet. So the potential settlement would have to be some kind of compromise. Perhaps a single pass that has no reservations, kind of like the old days where you had the SIG and SIG Plus. Obviously, they didn't have any reservations, but they had a wide open calendar. And then maybe a single pass like the Flex Pass that had a limited reservation system, but it was a more affordable option. And I mentioned that affordable part of it because I feel like that's the direction things are heading. Hopefully, I would assume Disney's prepared for this. Look for a much higher priced Magic Key. If their one does have no reservations attached to it, that key is going to be considerably more expensive than anything we've ever seen in the past. Or perhaps it's a change that removes some of that ambiguity, well, a lot of that ambiguity about what constitutes a full capacity day, which is really what this suit is about. The suit was brought about under those conditions. If a Magic Key is told that they can't make a reservation for a certain day, it's because they're fully booked. They're at some sort of capacity. But on that same day, a single day ticket purchaser could buy a ticket and make a reservation. So what is full capacity? It's some sort of mythical, unknown number. We have no idea, and therein lies the basis for this case. But I feel like it would be really difficult to enforce for Disney to agree to that kind of transparency. They don't want to give up. They don't want to tell you. They don't want you to know exactly what's going on. They like the secrecy and the unknown factor. So they're going to want to maintain that somehow. It may even be impossible. So really the best, cleanest solution is for there to be some kind of pass that has no reservation system. And I think that's the direction things are going. Eventually, we're going to arrive at that destination, I believe. But we've said all that before. The real update here is that there's going to be no help from the court system. The court system is not going to help us, at least not in time for any of us to renew our passes. That's a year from now. We won't see a decision on this for another year, if it ever got that far. Next up, let's talk about D23. That's coming up in just a couple of months in September. And us Disneyland fans, as always, are most concerned about what's going to happen at the parks panel. The panel will be Sunday morning, so we'll have to wait a bit, even once the event begins. But Disney has teased the Wonderful World of Dreams Pavilion that will be open from the start. And in the World of Dreams Pavilion, we're going to see updates on Tiana's Bayou adventure that's going to feature some behind-the-scenes glimpses, which sounds to me like one of those talking to Imagineers about an upcoming project that we're all super excited about, and this is really the greatest opportunity of a lifetime. We're so excited about this. One of those kind of videos. It's fun. It's a puff piece. I'm not expecting anything detailed. Maybe we get some new concept art. Let's hope so. Maybe they'll tell us a little bit more about what the story is. Maybe they'll tell us about what they're going to be, how they're going to redo or reuse some of the old stuff, how they're going to incorporate the old story or the old building into the new story. Or maybe they even reveal something new, something really new as part of the attraction. I know that there is one, I think there's going to be one additional character or animatronic as we've seen from the concept art. In addition, the Parks blog stated that there's going to be updates on some Frozen-themed experiences. They didn't specify for which parks, but you'll be seeing that at that pavilion. There will be updates on the transformation of Epcot, which has been ongoing since the last D23, it seems like, and the new Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Wish. And then, of course, there will be the Parks panel, and hopefully, having said all of that in terms of what they're talking about at this pavilion, hopefully the Parks panel won't be limited to just what they're talking about in that pavilion. It would be something. It's very unusual, I think, for Disney. I don't recall them doing this in the past where they have revealed what's going to be announced at the Parks panel ahead of time. So the fact that they have kind of teased us with this pavilion, what may be discussed at the Parks panel, that leaves us at least a possibility that there's something more behind, they've got more to talk about besides those items. My prediction, though, in spite of my enthusiasm, in spite of my increased optimism, as we discussed in a previous People Mover video, I'm still leaning towards us not hearing anything at all about the People Mover or about a new Tomorrowland. If I had to guess, there's going to be more than a few disappointed fans out there. I mean, I want it to happen very badly, more than I've ever wanted anything to happen before in my history of covering the Disneyland Resort. But I'm just going on past experience and Disney's seemingly inability to commit to anything at Tomorrowland for going on more than a decade now. This has been Disney's problem for a long time. They can't commit to anything, mostly because they're afraid to make a mistake. And I totally get it, by the way. I totally get it. They're risking $1 billion, $2 billion. I mean, it's got to be, if they were to redo Tomorrowland completely, that's what you're looking at, between $1 billion and $2 billion, I'm sure. And that's a scary proposition, especially if you don't, especially considering what's happened recently with the money that they spent on Galaxy's Edge, which did not go over very well. So I'm sure they're a little gun shy on that, which is why I am so heavily in favor of what I talked about in the People Mover video, where it doesn't require, there's basically no risk at all. Bring back the People Mover, repair the tracks as needed, bring back the People Mover, mostly intact, mind you. Do not eliminate all that stuff back there or all of that stuff back there over Autopia and Finding Nemo. Bring back the People Mover, tear down the Interventions building, put something else there new if you want, like a restaurant, but not a new attraction, something simple but clean and fun. Update the rest of the land. You could do this all for, I don't know, 100 million, 200 million tops. You do all of that, no risk. There's no risk of an IP failure. There's no risk of people not resonating with whatever decision they make. People already enjoy Tomorrowland the way it is. People have enjoyed Tomorrowland the way it was. Very cheap comparatively, and you make all those people who will not shut up about the People Mover or New Tomorrowland, you make all those people very happy. And those are the people who are doing the most of the talking. There is the Tron group out there who wants Tron to happen at Disneyland. That's not going to happen, you guys. I'm sorry. Tron's never coming to Disneyland, at least not in my opinion. I don't think Disneyland even needs a new e-ticket at all. It's still one of the busiest theme parks in the universe, and they've been doing it on the backs of attractions that are more than 50 years old. The anchors of Disneyland are still Pirates, Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain, Indiana Jones, with Indiana Jones being really the only IP influence attraction. But I feel like that's different because it's a giant immersive experience, not just a small little thing, much like Rise of the Resistance is a giant immersive experience, which is great, mind you. But also Galaxy's Edge isn't pulling the numbers still as a land that the other lands are. They've been doing it for a long time with the same attractions for more than 50 years, and they can continue doing that. Don't mess with that formula. And I've talked enough. I've talked enough about Tomorrowland and the People Mover. Let's get to our next topic. Last week, we discussed the possibility of the city of LA enacting a new mask mandate because figures were going up. Things were getting bad with regard to COVID statistics. Sounded like they were well on their way. Turns out they are not. Turns out the numbers are getting better. Turns out the numbers are getting better. Turns out there will be no new mask mandate in the city of LA. But what's perhaps more interesting than that story is the fact that before LA made this announcement, or we heard this news, the cities of Beverly Hills, Long Beach, and Pasadena, they all said, we're not going to do that. Go ahead and put your mask mandate out there. We're not going to enforce it. And so ends that story, but perhaps a new one is going to take its place. In the last couple of days, California, Illinois, and the city of New York have all announced a state of emergency with regard to monkeypox. Too early, of course, to draw any comparisons to COVID. I don't think this is a reboot of that necessarily. And if I understand it correctly, it is usually the case when a government announces a state of emergency like this, it's not so that everybody will, raise everybody's awareness and get everybody up in a panic and say, hey, get ready, super bad things are about to happen. The state of emergency announcement is required in order to activate certain things that they can do to help combat whatever is happening. Vaccinations, testing, public outreach. So while it's a thing, it's no reason to be concerned at all. I don't think this is going to be a reboot of COVID. Okay, last story for today is an update on the Knott's Berry Farm chaperone policy. This has been a very fascinating story. If you're not aware, Knott's recently instituted a chaperone policy for any guests 17 or younger. If you are 17 or younger and you want to go to Knott's on a Friday or a Saturday, you had to have a chaperone with you who was 21 years of age or older. As I mentioned, the chaperone policy was put in effect for Fridays and Saturdays. The update is that they have now added a third day. They've added Sunday. So apparently they didn't go far enough, they think. They're going even further with it in adding in Sundays now. No word yet on how this policy has worked so far. I haven't heard any reports, anything newsworthy anyway, of incidents happening in the parks. Also not sure how this might be affecting attendance. I'd be curious to know what percentage of those weekend crowds were actually kids on their own at the park under the age of 18 by themselves at the park. I'd be curious. In fact, I would also be curious. I would like to ask anybody who fits that description under the age of 18, if you normally were a visitor of Knott's, if you often went by yourselves or with other friends who were also under 18, and now you are being required to bring a chaperone, how does that change your feelings about going to the park? Do you just stay home and just say, I'm not going to Knott's Berry Farm? Or do you still go to Knott's and bring that chaperone? As mentioned, I haven't really heard any reports on how this is affecting attendance, but I would have to think there is a certain percentage of guests who are just not going to Knott's Berry Farm now. I'd love to hear from anybody out there who has been at Knott's the past couple of weekends, or maybe who's going this weekend. Let us know. Let us know how the crowds look and feel. Email us. Hit me up on Twitter. @ me there. I would go myself this weekend, but we've got a very busy weekend ahead of us. We're staying a couple nights over at the Castle Inn and Suites on Harbor Boulevard. We're being hosted there. We're going to do a report on that hotel. And then we're going directly from the Castle Inn and Suites for another 2 days. We're going back to the Grand Californian. We're being hosted by GetAwayToday at the Grand Californian. And we'll be taking part in some Magic Morning Fun. That's starting very soon. Hotel guests get that extra half hour in the morning. We're going to take part in that early on. We'll be staying 2 nights at the Grand Californian, then doing Magic Morning at Disneyland one day, Magic Morning at DCA the next. And of course, that's a great opportunity for us to do a little bit of recon, a little research on how that works for those guests and how, where the benefits are. But I have a feeling, I've got a pretty good feeling that DCA is going to be super easy because Magic Mornings at DCA is going to include web slingers. That means web slingers will be standby, will not require a lightning lane. Well, the standby is going to be wide open. It'll be super easy. That's going to save you, $15 probably for web slingers per guest. But even better, I had to think about this. I have never in my life gotten to take advantage of Magic Morning. I've never stayed in a hotel on property and was able to use Magic Morning. I think I did once before, but the Magic Morning wasn't for the day we were there, if I recall. So this will be a first for us. So stay tuned for a report from Fresh Baked on early morning access, Magic Morning, how to use it, what the options are. And then stay tuned for more from Fresh Baked as the news happens. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked, on Twitter at Fresh Baked Disney, that's Fresh with no E, and on TikTok at Fresh Baked Disney. If you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. And if you're looking to book a vacation, as mentioned with GetAwayToday, we are affiliated with them. There's a link in the description below. Book your packages for Disney World, Disneyland, anywhere you want to go. Buy your tickets from GetAwayToday as well. There's a link in the description. And of course, be safe out there, everybody. Be kind to one another. And Fresh Baked.